What if the freaks in the carnival weren't the real monsters? Tonight's story isn't about ghosts or demons. It's about two brothers trapped in one body, and the evil that turned them into something worse. Comment Carnival if you're brave enough to keep watching. I still smell it. Sawdust and gasoline. Rotting cotton candy stuck to your shoes. The animal cages reeked like death in July heat. But that wasn't the worst part. No, the worst part was them. The ones locked in the trailer at the back of the lot. The ones Mr. Dreg called his prize. You ever hear of Dreg's Carnival of Curiosities? Yeah, that's the one. The place parents drag their kids to on weekends like it was some kind of twisted zoo. Clowns with moldy wigs. A mermaid. That was just a catfish tail sewn to some poor girl's waist. But the main attraction? The thing folks paid double to see? Two heads on one body. They had names. Thomas and Edward. Brothers. Conjoined at the skull, sharing a spine that curved like a question mark. I was the one who fed them, brought them scraps from the food tents, changed the hay in their cage. At first, I told myself I was just doing a job. Hell, I needed the cash. But then Thomas looked at me. Not at me. Into me. His eyes were too old for a kid. Like he'd seen every rotten thing the world had to offer and still hoped it might change. Edward, though, his eyes were black ice. Cold. Sharp. He'd stare at Dreg when he came by to taunt him, and I swear, I could feel the hate rolling off him, like a fever. One night, after the crowds left, I heard him talking. Thomas asked me if I thought the stars were the same in every town. Said he wanted to draw him someday. Edward cut him off. Stars don't care about freaks, he spat. Then he looked right at me and said, "You don't either. You just like watching us squirm." He wasn't wrong. I'd stand there, holding their food, pretending not to hear Dreg's lies. "Born in a barn, half-beast," he'd shout to the crowd. But Thomas and Edward, they were just kids. Kids who'd never seen a birthday cake, never felt grass under their feet. Just that damn cage, the stink of sweat and piss, and the sound of people laughing. Sometimes, when I'd walk away, I'd hear Thomas humming. This sad little tune, like something his mama might have sung. And Edward? He'd hiss at him to shut up. But Thomas kept humming, like he was trying to remember what peace sounded like. I should have let him out. Should have smashed the lock. But I didn't. Guess that makes me the real monster. Huh? You ever wander into a carnival as a kid? The kind that rolls into town like a fever dream? Bright lights. Laughing crowds. The smell of burnt sugar and popcorn stuck to the air. Dreg's Carnival of Curiosities looked like that at first. The tents were striped red and gold, faded from years of rain. The lanterns flickered like fireflies trapped in glass. Kids dragged their parents to games rigged from the start. Toss a ring, when a stuffed bear moth eaten enough to crawl away on its own. The clowns? Oh, they smiled. Big, greasy grins painted over yellow teeth. Their laughs sounded like broken accordions. And the music. God, the music. A carousel organ wheezing out tunes just slightly off-key. Like someone had taught it how to play by humming through a mouthful of rot. You'd catch yourself tapping your foot until you realized the melody was looping. The same 6 notes. Over and over. But people came. They always came. Paid their nickels a gawk at the Wolf.MAN, some poor soul glued into a moth-eaten fursuit. Oohed and awed at the electric lady, a girl in a sequin dress hooked up to a car battery. Dreg called it magic. We called it survival. Yeah, survival. That's what we told ourselves. The rubes got their thrills. We got enough cash to keep the generators sputtering. Everyone won. But then there was a trailer, parked at the far end of the lot. No lights, no signs, just a rusted metal box on wheels, chained shut. The paint peeled off in strips, like something inside had clawed at it. Dreg didn't let anyone near it, not even the clowns. But at night, when the crowds thinned, you could hear things. Scratching, whispers, a wet, ragged cough that didn't sound human. Dreg saved it for last. Always. After the rubes had stuffed themselves on funnel cake and cheap beer. After their kids were dizzy from spinning rides. Then he'd climb onto his little wooden stage, grin wide enough to split his face, and shout, "Ladies and gents, feast your eyes on the Devil's Double." The crowd would shiver, lean in, and Dreg dangle that rusty key like it was made of gold. Nobody ever asked what was inside. Maybe they didn't want to know. The first time I really saw them, was the night I brought Em a bucket of water. Dreg kept him in that trailer. See, no windows, just a single bulb swinging from the ceiling, throwing shadows that moved wrong, like the dark itself was alive. Thomas sat hunched in the corner, fingers tracing shapes in the dirt. Circles, stars, a sad little stick figure with too many limbs. He looked up when I came in, eyes wide and wet. "Do you think the stars look the same everywhere?" he asked. Quiet, like he was scared the question might break. Before I could answer, Edward's head twisted toward me. Same body, same face, but his voice came out like a knife dragged over stone. "Stars don't give a damn about us," he spat. His eyes never blinked, just stared, like he was counting the ways he could hurt me if he had the chance. They shared a body, but they weren't brothers. Not really. Thomas flinched at loud noises. Edward made him. Thomas hummed when he thought no one was listening. Edward? He'd grind his teeth till the sound set your nerves on fire. One day, I found a drawing scratched into the dirt. A field, flowers, a sun with too many rays. Thomas whispered, "Mama said heaven looks like that." Edward snarled, "Mama's dead," and kicked the dirt till the picture was gone. I started noticing things. How Thomas's side of the cage was neat. Hay stacked like a bed. How Edward's side was torn up, scattered like something had been digging. How Thomas's hands shook when Dreg came near. How Edward's didn't. And the whispers. Late, after the crowds left, when the carnival slept, I'd hear Edward muttering in the dark. Not to Thomas. To someone else. Words I couldn't make out. Hisses. Snarls. Once, I pressed my ear to the trailer door and heard him say, "Take him, not me, take him." I yanked back so fast I near fell over. Thomas was crying inside, soft, muffled, and Edward, Logan, a wet, gurgling sound, like he'd swallowed broken glass. I should have run then. Should have left that cursed carnival and never looked back. But I didn't. I stayed. And what happened next? Let's just say Edward got what he wanted. Dreg got worse. Hungrier. Started making the twins do things. Horrible things. He'd drag him out of the trailer by their hair, parade him in front of crowd like animals. Made Em bite the heads off chickens. Throw knives at Em and laugh when they flinched. Thomas would cry silent, tears dripping into the dirt. Edward? He'd just smile. A crooked, broken grin, like he was saving up every scream for later. Then came the headaches. First, it was the butcher, big guy named Hank, always heckling the twins, spitting tobacco juice at their feet. One night, he'd stand in front row, hollering, "Dance freak," at Edward. And Edward, he looked at him, just stared. Hank clutched his head like it had split open, fell to his knees, blood pouring from his nose. The crowd cheered, thought it was part of the act. Dreg loved it, started selling tickets to the cursed freak show. Folks lined up to jeer, to throw pennies, to dare Edward to do it again. And he did. A farmer from Boone County dropped dead mid-laugh. Heart gave out. A preacher's wife started screaming about spiders crawling under her skin, ran straight into a tent pole, knocked herself cold. Thomas begged me to stop it. "He's not sleeping," he whispered. "He's practicing." Edward's eyes got darker, bloodshot, pupils blown wide like black holes. He'd sit in the corner, muttering to the walls, fingers twitching like he was pulling strings. One night, I caught him staring at Dreg through the trailer bars. "He's gonna make us cut off an arm," Edward said, real quiet. "But I'll cut something else first." I didn't sleep after that. Just laid in my cot, listening to the carnival creak. The wind carried voices. Not Thomas's. Not human. Something rasping in Edward's ear. Promising things. Then came the surgeon. Dreg brought him in. A skinny man in a stained coat, carrying a saw. Said he'd fix the twins. Make em more interesting. Thomas screamed when he saw the tools. Edward didn't. He just smiled. And that's when I knew. Whatever was in that trailer with us, whatever Edward had been talking to, it wasn't just teaching him. It was feeding him. The surgeon came at midnight. Brought a bag of tools, rusty saws, scalpels crusted with brown stains. Dreg grinned like a jackal. Said he'd make the twins worth the price of admission. Thomas shook so bad his teeth chattered. Edward, he just stared at that saw. Didn't blink. Didn't breathe. Like he'd been waiting his whole damn life for this. They dragged him onto a table. Strapped him down with leather belts. Thomas kept whimpering, "Please, please, please," over and over, a prayer nobody heard. Edward stayed silent. But his eyes, God, his eyes, they glowed, not metaphorically, literally, flickering like coals in a furnace. The surgeon raised the saw, and Edward screamed. Not a human scream, not even an animal's. It was sharper, like metal scrap and bone. The lanterns exploded. Glass rained down. Flames shot up the tent walls. Whoosh, like the devil himself blew on him. The heat. Christ, the heat. It smelled like burnt sugar and hair. Rotting meat. Melted plastic. I ran. We all ran. Clowns tripping over their shoes. Dreg howling about his money. But I couldn't leave Em. I couldn't. The trailer was already burning. Bars glowing red. Inside, Thomas was crying, curled up on the floor. Edward was Logan, high and wild. A sound that clawed its way into your skull and stayed. I grabbed a crowbar, beat at the lock till my hands bled. Thomas crawled toward me, fingers grabbed in dirt. "Please," he sobbed. "Don't let it hurt. Don't let it." Edward's head snapped up, flames reflected in his eyes. "Burn with us," he hissed. Not to me, to the fire, to the night, to whatever thing had been whispering to him all along. The roof collapsed. Sparks rained down. Thomas screamed my name. Edward screamed his. And then, silence. I woke up 3 days later in a hospital. Burns on my arms. Ash in my lungs. They said I was the only one who made it out alive. But that's a lie. They're still out there. I hear them. In the crackle of a campfire. In the static of a dead radio channel. 2 voices. One crying. One Logan. And some nights, when the wind's right, I smell burnt sugar. The carnival's gone now. Burned to nothing but ash and twisted metal. Weeds claw through the rubble. Crows pick at scraps of faded ticket stubs. But if you go there, really go there at night, you'll feel it. That prickle on your neck. The air too thick, too sweet, like rot dipped in honey. Folks in town say they've seen things. A shape in the cornfields. 2 heads bobbing on one hunched shadow. A laugh that don't sound human. They call it the Ash Boy. Leave milk and bread at the edge of the lot like it's some kind of god. Ain't no god. It's just them. Thomas and Edward. Or what's left. I tried going back once. 5 years ago. Moon hung low, yellow as a dead man's eye. The wind carried voices. Thomas crying. Edward singing. A twisted version of that lullaby Thomas used to hum. The dirt where their trailer stood was char black. No grass grows there. Just this hole, like the earth itself won't heal. I left a toy truck. One I stole from the carnival prize pile. Thomas always stared at it. Never asked. Just stared. When I came back the next morning, it was melted. A puddle of plastic. Fingers pressed into it. 2 on one side, 5 on the other. They're angry, hungry, and they ain't picky about who feeds them. Last week, a kid went missing from the next town over. Posters on every lamppost. Have you seen me? Smiling in that photo. They found his shoes in the cornfield, laces tied together. I didn't sleep for 3 days. Just sat by the window, listening. Around 3 a.m., I heard it, scratching at the door. A voice like wet matches. You left us, it said, but we found you. When I looked, nothing. Just a handprint in the dust. 4 fingers. 1 thumb. So here's my advice. Next time you're driving down some back road, and you see those flickering lights in the distance, those rides creaking like old bones, don't stop. Don't stare. And if you hear a laugh, 2 laughs tangled into one, you run. 'Cause carnivals ain't for fun. They're traps. And we're all just meat. Comment where you're watching from. Maybe the twins are closer than you think. My sister swore she'd come back from the grave, and last night I heard her scratching at my door. Comment where you're watching from. Maybe the twins are closer than you think. Turn the lights off and tell me where you're watching from. Let me tell you about the house. Our house. It sat in the marshes like a rotten tooth, blackened by time and sagging under its own weight. 3 sisters lived there, Ursula, Tabitha, and me. We didn't choose that life. It chose us. Generations of Mallows had breathed that damp air, slept under those warped beams, and died there. But none of them died like Ursula. She was the oldest, you see, always in charge, even when the fever ate her alive. I'll never forget her face that last day. Paper-thin skin stretched over bone, eyes like cracked glass. She grabbed my wrist so hard it bruised and hissed, "One for greed, one for weakness. I'll collect you both." Her breath smelled like the marsh, like decay. We laughed at her, Tabitha and I laughed because we were scared. Because deep down we knew she meant it. Tabitha, God Tabitha. The moment Ursula's body went cold, she started rifling through her things. Silver spoons, moth-eaten dresses, even the rusted locket around Ursula's neck. "It's ours now," she'd say, grinning like a fox in a henhouse. But I didn't want any of it. I just wanted to bury Ursula and forget her cursed words. So we did. Dug a hole in the marsh, right where the water turns black, and dropped her in. No prayers, no flowers, just mud and silence. That's when the house started talking. At first, it was just noises. A creak on the stairs when no one was there. A wet, sloshing sound behind the walls, like something dragging itself through the pipes. I'd wake up at night, heart pounding. Sure, I heard Ursula's voice, not her sickbed rasp, but the sharp, clear tone she used when we were girls. Eunice, like she was standing right beside me. Tabitha swore it was the wind, swore I was going mad. But then she started hearing it too. We didn't talk about it, not directly. Tabitha just locked herself in Ursula's room, counting coins by candlelight while I paced the halls, waiting, listening. The stink of rot clung to everything, no matter how hard I scrubbed. And at night, I'd hear it. Not the wind, not the house settling. A voice whispering from the cracks in the walls. "You shouldn't have left me in the mud, little sister." The scratching started 3 nights after we buried her. You've never heard a sound like that. Not mice in the walls, not branches on glass. This was slow, deliberate, like something with too many joints was dragging itself along the doorframe, testing the wood. I'd lie there, blankets pulled to my chin, telling myself it was the marsh wind. Just the wind. But the marsh doesn't whisper your name. It doesn't laugh. Tabitha stopped sleeping. She'd vanish for hours, and I'd find her in Ursula's room, sitting in the dark with her hands full of tarnished jewelry. She wanted me to have it, she'd say, voice flat as a grave slab. All of it. Her eyes. God, her eyes. I caught her reflection once in the dusty mirror, pupils swallowed whole by black, like ink spilled across glass. When I screamed, she just smiled. You'll see, Eunice. She's still here, and she's proud of me. I stopped going upstairs after that, but the house had other plans. One night, the scratching turned to knocking, not at the door, inside the walls. Boom, 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 rhythmic, hungry. I followed it, candle trembling in my hand, down the hall to where Ursula's portrait hung. Her painted eyes seemed to follow me, lips curled in that same sour smirk she wore alive. That's when I saw the shadow. It shouldn't have been there. The candlelight was steady, but the shadow, it twisted, stretched too tall, limbs bending where limbs shouldn't bend. I dropped the candle. The flame died, and in that heartbeat of darkness, I felt breath on my neck, cold, wet, reeking of peat and rot. I ran. Didn't stop until I reached the kitchen, where Tabitha stood clutching a knife, her face bone white. You saw it too, she said. Not a question. A confession. Outside, the marsh water slapped against the house, and for the first time, I wondered, what if we didn't bury her deep enough? I found her at dawn. Tabitha was sitting in Ursula's chair, her back to the door. For a moment, I thought she was sleeping, her head slumped forward, hair hanging in greasy strands. But then I saw her hands. Oh, God, her hands. They were wrapped around Ursula's jewelry box, fingers bloated and blackened, like they'd been dipped in tar. The stench hit me next, sweet and rotten, like meat left in the sun. Flies crawled over her wrists, buzzing lazy circles around the emerald rings she'd stolen. Tabitha? My voice cracked. No answer, just a drip of marsh water, seeping through the ceiling, plink, 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 into a rusted basin. When I touched her shoulder, she didn't move, didn't breathe. Her skin was cold. Not the chill of death, the icy, clammy cold of something that had been underwater. I ran. Didn't grab a coat, didn't blow out the candles. Just ran. The front door was locked. The back door, locked too, though I'd opened it 100 times. The windows refused to budge, like the house itself was holding its breath. Outside, the marsh had risen overnight. Black water lapped at the porch steps, swallowing the path hole. No road, no sky, just endless, hungry dark. I pounded on the doors until my fists bled, screamed until my throat tore, and then I heard it. Not the scratching, not the knocking. A new sound. Wet, guttural, like something was breathing through a throat full of mud. It came from the walls, from the floorboards, from every direction at once. That's when I understood. Ursula hadn't come back alone. She'd brought things with her. Things that had been waiting in the mud, patient as graves. Things that knew our names. I didn't think. I just ran. The marsh swallowed my boots with every step, mud sucking at my ankles like hands pulling me down. The cold bit through my dress, and the air, thick with rot, burned my lungs. But I didn't stop. Couldn't stop. Behind me, the slosh of footsteps kept pace. Heavy. Relentless. Too many footsteps. Like whatever followed had too many legs. Or none at all. I don't know how long I ran. Minutes? Hours? The sky was gone, smothered by fog, and the house had vanished behind me. Or had it? Sometimes I'd glimpse its silhouette through the mist, crooked chimneys, broken windows, always closer than before, like it was chasing me too. Then I saw her. In the black water ahead, a face floated. Not floating, rising, pale as maggots, hair tangled with weeds, lips split in a grin too wide for any living thing. Ursula, but not Ursula. Her eyes were gone, replaced by hollow pits crawling with leeches. Her jaw hung slack, unhinged like a snake's, and her fingers, God, her fingers were bone hooks, scraping against the surface of the water as she dragged herself toward me. You shouldn't have stayed, little sister. The voice wasn't hers. It was a chorus, a dozen wet, gurgling tones overlapping, echoing from the marsh itself. I stumbled backward, fell into the muck, and she kept coming. Her body unfolded from the water, too long, too broken. Spine curving like a question mark. The stench of her, moldering flesh and stagnant water, made me retch. I scrambled to my feet, but the mud betrayed me. My legs gave out, and I landed hard, the impact knocking the breath from my chest. She was inches away now. I could see the worms writhing in her throat, the way her ribs jutted through rotted fabric. Her hand, cold, slimy, closed around my ankle. That's when the screaming started. Mine? Hers? The marshes? I don't know. All I remember is the sound. A wet, crunching snap like a melon split open on stone. Then silence. But the silence wasn't empty. It was waiting. They never found my body. Not that anyone looked. The house still stands, you know. If you're fool enough to visit, you'll see it. Windows boarded up, roof caved in, marsh water lapping at its foundations like it's trying to finish what Ursula started. But don't get too close. Don't step onto the porch. Don't peer through the cracks. Because sometimes the boards shift, just a little, and you'll catch a flicker of movement inside. A shadow that's too tall. A shape that doesn't belong. I don't know what's in there now. Maybe it's Ursula. Maybe it's Tabitha. Maybe it's me. All I know is this. The marsh keeps secrets. It always has. That's why I'm writing this. My hand shaking, my breath fogging the page. I don't have much time. The water's rising under the door again, and I can hear them. Things scraping at the walls. They've learned to sound like her. Like us. So listen. If you ever find this journal buried in the mud, or tucked under a rock, or left on your doorstep in the dead of night, run. Don't come looking for answers. Don't whisper our names. And whatever you do, don't go near the well. She's down there, you see. Waiting. Always waiting. But maybe you're like me. Maybe curiosity claws at your guts. Maybe you'll stand at the edge of that black water, staring at the house, and swear you see a face in the upstairs window. A face you recognize. Go ahead. Knock on the door. I'll let you guess what happens next. This journal was found in a locked box, half submerged in the marsh. The last page was stained with something dark, something old. What do you think she saw in the water? Let me know in the comments. And if you've ever heard footsteps in an empty room, well, you might want to sleep with the lights on tonight.
Let me tell you about the worst decision of my life. It started as a joke. A stupid joke. You know how it is. 3 bored friends, a rusty pickup truck, and a map with half the roads scribbled out. Jake, Leah, and me. We'd been driving for hours. The kind of drive where the sky turns gray and the trees all start to look like skeletons. Leah spotted the sign first. Faded letters, peeling off a wooden board. Spiderland, 5 miles. Jake slammed the brakes. No way that's real, he said. But Leah was already Googling it. Says here's some guy in the 80s tried to breed silk spiders. They ate him. Town got abandoned. She snorted like it was some campfire story. Jake pulled out his GoPro. We're gonna blow up on TikTok. He grinned. I should have punched him. I should have turned the car around. But we didn't. The road turned to gravel. Then dirt, then nothing. We parked near a fence wrapped in barbed wire. The signs said "No trespassing," but the rust was so thick, they looked like they'd been there for 100 years. Leah hopped the fence first. Scared city boy, she teased. I followed. Jake filmed the whole thing, laughing. Then everything got quiet. Not normal quiet. Wrong quiet. No birds. No crickets. Just this thick, sticky silence. The air smelled sweet, like fruit left out in the sun too long. Leah kicked something. A shredded backpack, covered in cobwebs. The strands were thick. Thicker than your finger. What the hell spins webs like that? She muttered. Jake zoomed in. Guys, look. Inside the backpack, photos. A family. Smiling. all covered in dust. We kept walking. The trees here, they weren't right. Bark split open like something had burst out. Webs everywhere, not just in the branches. On the ground, on the rocks. Shiny, like black thread. Jake's GoPro light flickered over one, and I swear it twitched. Leah froze. "Did you hear that?" she whispered. A skittering sound. High up. Fast. Too fast to be a squirrel. Jake laughed, but it was shaky. "Relax. It's just..." Snap. A branch broke somewhere behind us. Not a small one. Something big. We spun around. Nothing. Just shadows. "Let's go back," I said. Leah nodded. Jake didn't. "We didn't even find the town yet," he said. Stubborn idiot. He marched ahead. We followed. That's when we saw the first cocoon. It hung between two trees, glowing faintly in Jake's camera light, shaped like a person. Tall. Thin. Leah got closer. "Is that hair?" she said. Then she screamed. The cocoon's face pressed against the web. A mouth. Wide open. Eyes hollow. Rotting. Skin stretched tight. Like paper. Jake dropped the GoPro. It filmed the ground. Leah's shoes backing up, my hands shaking, the cocoon swaying, and something moving in the trees above it. Something with too many legs. We ran. Branches ripped at our clothes. The skittering got louder. Behind us. Beside us. Everywhere. Jake tripped. His GoPro skidded into the dirt. He reached for it, and a shadow dropped from the trees. Long, spindly. Jake screamed. Then he was gone. Just gone. Leah grabbed my arm. "Don't look back," she yelled. But I did. I wish I hadn't. It was supposed to be a road trip. Just three idiots in a beat-up truck, chasing bad coffee and worse decisions. Jake, Leah, and me. We'd known each other since high school. Skipped classes, crashed parties, the usual. But this was different. We were lost. Proper lost. The kind where your phone dies, the map's a mess of scribbles, and every dirt road looks the same. We stopped at this gas station halfway to nowhere. Place looked like it hadn't seen a fresh coat of paint since the 90s. The clerk behind the counter had this look, like he'd just bitten into a lemon. Leah asked him for directions, and he stared at her like she'd spat on his shoes. "Ain't no town out there," he said. But then his eyes flicked to the window, toward the woods. "Spiderland," he muttered. "You kids stay away from that place." Jake laughed. "Spiderland? Sounds like a theme park for bugs." The clerk didn't laugh, just took our money and slammed the register shut. "Don't say I didn't warn you," he growled. We should have listened. But of course, we didn't. The detour started as a joke. Jake swerved the truck onto some back road, shouting, "Spiderland or bust." Leah hung out the window, howling like a wolf. I was in the back seat, trying to charge my phone. That's when I noticed it. No service. Not even a flicker. The trees here were too close, too thick, like they were leaning in. We parked near a broken fence. Barbed wire curled up from the posts like claws. The air smelled weird. Not pine, not dirt. Sweet. Cloying almost. Like someone had dumped syrup over a dead animal. Leah hopped out first. "You hear that?" she said. We all froze. Nothing. No birds. No wind. No crunch of leaves underfoot. Just silence. The kind that presses against your ears. Jake kicked a rock. "It's just some creepy woods," he said. "Relax." But his voice was too loud. Too fake. Leah found the backpack. Half buried in leaves. Zipper rusted shut. She yanked it open and cobwebs stretched, thick, glossy strands, like someone had melted a bike tire and spun it into silk. "What the hell?" she whispered. Inside was a rotting notebook, a water bottle with algae floating in it, and a photo. A family. Mom, Dad, 2 kids. Smiling in front of a sign that said, "Welcome to Spiderland." Jake snatched the photo. "See? It's real." He waved it like a trophy. but the edges were singed, like someone had tried to burn it. We kept walking. The trees here, they weren't right. Trunks split open, oozing something dark. Webs clung to everything, branches, rocks, even the damn ground. They weren't the lacy webs you see in gardens. These were ropes. Knotted. Deliberate. Leah poked one with a stick, and it vibrated. A low, humming sound, like a plucked guitar string. "Guys," I said, "we should go back." Jake rolled his eyes. "Chill. It's just spiders." He grabbed the stick and tore through a web. The whole forest seemed to shudder. That's when we heard it. A skitter. Sharp. Fast. Up in the branches. Leah froze. Was that? Skitter, skitter, skitter. Left. Right. Above us. Jake aimed his phone light upward. Nothing. Just leaves. Probably squirrels, he said, but his hands were shaking. We didn't talk after that. Just walked faster. The path twisted, leading us deeper. The webs got thicker, clumped together like black snow. And that smell, God, that smell got worse. Rotten fruit. Burning hair. Leah gagged. "I'm gonna puke," she said. Then Jake stopped dead. Holy look. Through the trees, a street sign. Tilted, covered in moss. Letters carved into the metal. Spiderland. And beneath it, spray painted in red. Turn back. Leah laughed. A high, nervous sound. "You guys, this isn't funny anymore." But it wasn't a joke. And the worst part, we still didn't run. The deeper we went, the heavier the air got, like walking through wet cloth. That smell. God, the smell. It clung to the back of my throat. Sweet, but rotten. Like someone stuffed a dead raccoon with candy and left it to bake. Leah kept gagging. "I can't breathe," she said. Jake didn't answer. He was too busy filming every stupid web, every broken tree. The woods weren't just quiet anymore. They were watching. I felt it. That itch between your shoulder blades, like someone's fingernail dragging down your spine. The trees here. Their bark was split open, oozing this sticky black sap. Webs wrapped around the trunks, pulsing, like veins. Leah pointed her flashlight at one. "Are those eggs?" Tiny white sacs, hundreds of them, glued to the webs. They shivered when the light hit them. Jake reached out. "Don't," I hissed, but he poked one with his keys. It burst. Thick, yellow liquid sprayed his sleeve. He jumped back, swearing. "The hell is that?" Leah's flashlight flickered. "Guys, the batteries are full. Why is it?" Skitter, skitter, skitter. Above us. Fast. Too fast. Jake swung his GoPro light upward. For half a second, the beam caught something huge shifting in the branches. A shadow. Legs. Too many legs. Leah let out this shrill laugh. "Probably just a deer," she said, but her voice cracked. We didn't move. Didn't breathe. The trees creaked. Something dripped onto my arm. Sticky. Warm. I didn't look up. Then Jake's GoPro died. All the lights died. Leah screamed. I fumbled for my phone, hands shaking, and finally got the flashlight on. That's when we saw it. A cocoon. Not a bug's cocoon. A person-sized cocoon. Dangling between two trees, wrapped in layers of black silk. The shape inside, it had arms. Legs. A head. Leah stumbled closer. Is that a face? The web was semi-transparent. You could see the features. A man. Mouth stretched wide. Teeth bared in a scream. Eyes bulging milky white. Skin gray and sunken, like he'd been drained. Leah reached out. Snap. A strand of web broke. The cocoon spun slowly, and the man's face pressed against the silk. His cheek split open. A fat black spider, big as a rat, crawled out of his mouth. Leah screamed. Jake screamed. I think I screamed too. We ran. Branches slapped our faces. Webs tore at our clothes. The skittering sound followed us, louder now. Not just above us. Beside us. Behind. Ahead. Everywhere. Leah tripped, and I yanked her up. Don't stop. I yelled. Jake's GoPro hit the dirt. He bent to grab it. A shadow dropped from the trees. Thin. Leggy. Fast. It dragged him into the dark. His scream didn't even last a second. After what happened to Jake, we didn't scream. We didn't even speak. Leah and I just ran. No direction. No plan. Just run. The woods blurred. Branches tore at our clothes. Webs snagged our ankles, like fingers trying to trip us. My lungs burned. Leah's flashlight bounced wildly ahead of me. Then, click. The light died. Both of them. Mine. Hers. Pitch black. Leah. I shouted. No answer. Leah. Silence. I fumbled for my phone, shaking so bad I dropped it. The screen cracked, but the flashlight flickered on. Leah was gone. Vanished. Like she'd never been there. This isn't funny. I screamed. Leah, where are you? Something moved in the trees. Not the skittering. A drag. Slow. Heavy. Like something being pulled over leaves. I backed up, phone trembling in my hand. The beam caught a shape on the ground. Leah's jacket. Ripped. Soaked in something dark. I ran. Again. Faster. The trees whipped past. My shoes sank into something soft. Webs. Layers of them. Carpeting the forest floor. They stuck to my soles, slowing me down. I tripped. Fell face first into a pile of dead leaves. When I looked up, my blood turned to ice. The same clearing. The same shredded backpack. The same cocoon. I'd been here before. 5 times. 10. I'd lost count. The woods were looping, feeding me back like a nightmare on repeat. No, no, and no. I slammed my fist into a tree. Bark cut my knuckles. The pain felt real. Too real. That's when I heard it. A hum. Low. Vibrating in my teeth. The webs around me began to move. Not just swaying. Contracting. Like muscles flexing. I stumbled back and froze. Above me, hundreds of glowing eyes opened. Tiny pinpricks of greenish light clustered in the branches. Clicking. Blinking. Staring. My legs gave out. I crawled backward. Leaves crunching under my hands. The eyes followed. Then the webs fell. Not strands. Sheets. Thick, glossy curtains of black silk, dropping from the treetops. They hit the ground like wet rope, hissing as they slid toward me. I scrambled to my feet, but another web snagged my ankle. I kicked free, sprinting. Thud. A shadow landed in front of me. Tall. Thin. Legs too long, too jointed, folding and unfolding like broken scissors. It didn't walk. It jerked. Twitching. Spasming. The hum grew louder. Deafening. More shadows dropped. Dozens. Hundreds. Surrounding me. Their eyes glowed. Their bodies clicked. The webs kept falling, tangling around my arms, my neck. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't scream. The last thing I saw, before the silk wrapped over my face, was Leah. Or what was left of her. Her eyes were gone. Her mouth stitched shut with black thread. And her skin, it pulsed, like something was moving underneath. Have you ever wondered what happens when you follow orders, even when every instinct tells you to run? This is a story of a former soldier. He swore it was true, and after hearing it, I haven't slept with the lights off since. Before we start, type door in the comments if you're brave enough to hear what's on the other side. My name's Daniel Harker. Back in 2012, the military sent me to the middle of nowhere, Alaska. Frozen forests, snowdrifts taller than a man, and a concrete bunker buried so deep in the ice, you'd need a map just to find the door. My orders were simple. Guard Sector 7. Don't open it. Don't ask questions. Just stand there. 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. A steel door, a rusty radio, and a thermos of coffee so bitter it could wake the dead. For the first few weeks, nothing happened. Nothing. The fluorescent lights buzzed like angry flies. The vents rattled out heat that smelled like burnt plastic. I'd count the cracks in the floor tiles, 19 in total, or stare at the red warning label plastered on Sector 7's door. Authorized personnel only. Deadly force authorized. I'd wonder what was behind it. Weapons. Chemicals. But then the scratching started. It was soft at first. A scritch, scritch, scritch behind the door, like a dog begging to be let in. I'd press my ear against the cold metal, holding my breath, and it'd stop. Every time, like whatever was in there knew I was listening. Then came the smell. Sweet and rotten, like meat left in the sun. It clung to my uniform, my hair. I'd scrub my hands raw in the shower, but it wouldn't wash off. I radioed Commander Voss, my CO. His voice always crackled through the speaker like he was chewing gravel. "It's the pipes, Harker. Old building. Quit wasting my time." But the smell got worse. Thicker, like something had died in the walls. And the scratching, God, the scratching never stopped. Not even when I screamed at the door to shut up. Not even when I threw my boot at it. That's when I found the marks. Tiny ones, near the floor. Claw marks. Not from an animal, though. Too deep. Too deliberate. Like something was trying to dig its way out. I radioed Voss again. "Sir, there's something wrong here. I think." He cut me off. "You think too much, Harker. Do your job. Stay at your post." So I did. I stood there. I listened. And I waited. I couldn't take it anymore. The scratching. The smell. The way Commander Voss's voice hissed through the radio, like he was enjoying this. So I started poking around. Not smart, maybe. But when you're alone for 12 hours with a door that won't stop breathing at you, you get curious. That's how I found the locker. Rusted shut. Hidden behind a stack of supply crates. Took me 20 minutes to pry it open. Inside, dust. Cobwebs. And a stack of VHS tapes labeled Project Blacklight, classified. No dates, no names, just that red stamp screaming, "Destroy upon viewing." Well, I had a TV in the guard booth, and a lot of time to kill. The first tape was all static, then a lab flickered onto the screen. White walls, scientists in hazmat suits, and something strapped to a table. At first, I thought it was a person. Thin. Twitching. But when the camera zoomed in, God, its eyes were gone. Just black holes. Like someone had scooped them out. And its mouth stretched too wide. Too many teeth. It was screaming. No begging. The audio was garbled. But I caught one word over and over. Please. The next tape was worse. A different creature. Same black eyes. It thrashed against chains while a scientist injected something into its arm. The thing started melting. Skin sloughing off, like wet paper. And the sound. Imagine a rabbit caught in a trap. High-pitched. Desperate. I turned it off. Threw up in the trash can. But I couldn't stop. I watched them all. That night, the whispers started. Not from the door. From everywhere. A dry, rasping voice in my ear. "Let us in." I spun around. Nothing there. Just the flickering lights and that goddamn door. I radioed Voss, my hands shaking so bad I could barely hold the receiver. "Sir, there's something in here with me." He cut me off. Laughed. "You're hearing things, Harker. Sleep deprivation. Stay at your post." But the whispers kept coming. Louder. Angrier. "Let us in. Let us in. Let US in." I jammed my hands over my ears. It didn't help. The voice was inside my head. Then, the radio crackled to life on its own. No dial tone. No Voss. Just a wet, gurgling noise. And a new voice. Hollow. Like it was coming from the bottom of a well. It said 3 words. "You're next." I didn't sleep that night. Didn't even blink. Just sat there, staring at Sector 7's door, wondering what was on the other side, and why it knew my name. The storm hit on a Thursday. Howling wind. Snow so thick it buried the windows. The generators sputtered first, lights flickering like a dying heartbeat. Then the heat shut off. Cold crawled up my legs, my arms, my throat. I radioed Voss. No answer. Just static. That's when the door started groaning. Not the usual scratches. This was different. Metal screeching against metal, like something was pushing, leaning. I fumbled for my flashlight. Clicked it on. The beam shook in my hand, carving shaky circles on the floor. Then the light died. Pitch black. I smacked it. Cursed. Nothing. Just the dark, and the sound of my own breathing. Too fast. Too loud. And something else. Wet footsteps. Squelch. 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 Coming from the hallway, behind me. Not boots. Not human. Something heavier. Slower. I froze. The door kept groaning. The footsteps kept coming. Closer. Closer. Until I felt hot breath on the back of my neck. Rancid. Metallic. I didn't turn around. Couldn't. My fingers found the door handle. Ice cold. Trembling. The voice in my head roared. Open it. Not my voice. Theirs. I yanked the door open. The stench hit me first. Rotting meat. Chemical burns. My flashlight flickered back on, just for a second, but that was enough. The hallway. God. Bodies. Dozens of them. Soldiers in shredded uniforms. Scientists in lab coats soaked black. And the walls dripping. Thick, oily sludge that moved like it was alive. I stepped forward. My boot stuck to the floor. Pulled free with a rip. That's when I heard the laugh. High-pitched. Giggling. From above. I looked up. A creature clung to the ceiling. Long limbs bent backward. Fingers two-jointed. Face no face. Just teeth. Rows and rows of teeth. It dropped. Landed in front of me. Cocked its head. Sniffed. Then screeched. A sound that split my skull. I ran. Slipped in the sludge. Fell hard. My hands plunged into the black ooze. It writhed. Squirmed between my fingers. I scrambled up, wiped my palms on my pants. Left smears that hissed and bubbled. The thing behind me skittered closer. Clicking. Chattering. I didn't look back. Just ran. Past more bodies. More doors. All of them marked Sector 7. I shouldn't have opened that door. But here's the thing, it didn't matter. They were already out. And they'd been waiting for me. I didn't make it far. The hallway ended at a dead end. A concrete wall smeared with bloody handprints. That's when she grabbed me. A woman in a torn lab coat. Her face streaked with soot and something black. They lied. She hissed. Her nails dug into my arm like talons. The door wasn't to keep them out. It was to keep us in. They wanted us trapped here with them. Dr. Karina Moss. That was her name. She'd been part of the project. The real project. Not aliens. Not weapons. Something older. Something that didn't have a name. They're not from space, she whispered, dragging me into a supply closet. They're from between. The walls of reality. And we poked holes. Oh, God, we poked so many holes. A crash cut her off. The closet door shuttered. Something slammed against it. Once. Twice. The third time, the metal dented inward. A claw, long, bone-white, glistening with mucus, sliced through the gap. Dr. Moss shoved me toward a vent. Go. They're coming. They're always coming. I crawled. The vent cut my palms, my knees. But I didn't stop. Not until I dropped into another room. A lab. Or what was left of one. Monitors shattered. Cages broken open. And on the floor, Commander Voss. Or half of him. His legs were gone. His uniform soaked red. But he was alive. Smiling. Laughing. Harker! He wheezed, blood bubbling on his lips. You see how beautiful they are. Behind him, shadows moved. Not shadows. Them. Dozens. Hulking things with too many joints. Faces that shifted. Human 1 second, then not. A mass of eyes. A nest of teeth. Voss reached for me. They're gonna fix everything. Make us better. Then they took him. A swarm of limbs. A wet, tearing sound. His laugh turned to a gurgle. Then silence. I ran again. Out of the lab. Down more halls. Past doors marked Biohazard and Do Not Enter. But the symbols didn't matter anymore. When I finally stumbled outside, the forest was wrong. The pines were bent sideways. The snow wasn't white. It was gray, like ash. And the sky crimson. No sun. No stars. Just that bleeding red. I pulled out my journal. Wrote one line. One truth. The trees are screaming. Because they were. A low, endless wail. Not wind. Not animals. Something alive. Something hungry. And in the distance, through the twisted trees, I saw them. Shapes in the fog. Walking on 2 legs. 3 legs. No legs. They didn't chase me. Just watched. Waiting. Because they knew. I'd opened the door. I'd let them out. And now there was nowhere left to hide. I made it out. Don't ask me how. My boots were shredded. My hands frostbitten. But I kept running until the trees thinned. Until the snow turned to mud. Until I found a road. A trucker picked me up. Didn't ask questions. Just drove. I thought I was safe. I was wrong. The woods, they followed me. Not the place. The wrongness. You ever seen a crow with too many wings? A deer with no eyes. Just teeth where its eyes should be. I have. Behind my house. In the park. In the reflection of my bathroom mirror at 3 a.m. The skies never blue anymore. It's rust red. Like dried blood. And the air thick. Stale. Like breathing through a wet rag. Sometimes at night, I hear them. My squad. Ramirez. Jenkins. They call my name. Harker. Over here. We made it. But when I follow the sound, there's nothing. Just footprints in the mud that vanish halfway. Or voices that come from empty rooms. Last week, my radio turned on by itself. Static. Then Voss's voice. You did good, soldier. They're proud of you. I smashed it with a hammer. Buried the pieces in the yard. I keep my journal locked in a safe now. Only 1 page matters. The last one. The trees are screaming. The sky is lying. And they're watching. I don't sleep. I don't eat much. Every door in my house has 3 locks. Even the closets. People say I should have disobeyed orders. Should have left that door shut. But here's what I know. It didn't matter. They were already out. They'd always been out. That door wasn't a cage. It was a test. And I failed. So I'll ask you, really ask you, if you'd been there, standing in that flickering dark, hearing something beg to be let in, would you have opened it? Or would you have stood there, like a good soldier, and waited for it to make you open it? If you made it this far, let me know. Would you have opened the door? Comment below. And if you're new here, hit subscribe. We've got stories darker than Sector 7. Three days ago, I got a voicemail from a number that doesn't exist. I thought it was a prank, until I found out 6 children died in that mill 70 years ago. And now they want me to join them. Comment burn if you dare play that voicemail at 3 a.m. Let me start by saying, I'm not a hero. I'm just a writer. The kind of person who spends more time talking to imaginary people than real ones. But 3 days ago, something happened that made me question every choice I've ever made. Every lie I've told myself. You see, I've always had these dreams. Since I was 6 years old. The same nightmare. Over and over. A burning building. Black smoke choking the air and shadows. little kid-shaped shadows, reaching out to me from the flames. I'd wake up screaming, convinced my bedroom was on fire. My parents took me to doctors, therapists. They said it was trauma, guilt even, because when I was 8, my little sister, she died in a house fire. I couldn't save her. The therapist said that's why I dreamed about burning buildings, that my brain was stuck in that moment, and I believed them. For years, I made myself believe them, until the voicemail. It came through at 2:47 a.m. No caller ID, just static, and then this voice. A kid's voice, but wrong, like it was coming from underwater. They need help. Please come to the old mill by the woods. Click. That was it. I laughed at first, hung up, but then I played it again, and again, because that voice, it wasn't just some prank. It sounded exactly like the kids in my nightmares. So I did what any idiot with a laptop and a caffeine addiction would do. I Googled Old Mill and my town's name. And guess what popped up? A news article from 1953. 6 kids trapped in a fire at Harper's Mill during some kind of town festival. The building collapsed. They never found the bodies. People said the woods near the mill were haunted, that if you listened close on quiet nights, you could hear them crying. My hands were shaking. My coffee went cold. Because here's the thing, I'd never heard of Harper's Mill before. Not once. But in my nightmares, I'd been drawing that place for years, scribbling it in the margins of my notebooks. Charred wood, broken windows, a doll with no face lying in the ashes. I told my therapist about the voicemail the next day. She said it was sleep deprivation, grief resurfacing. Told me to take a Xanax and stop watching true crime documentaries. But I couldn't let it go. That mill, those kids, they felt real. Like they'd been scratching at the door of my mind my whole life. And now they'd finally kicked it open. So I did the dumbest thing imaginable. I drove out there. Let me tell you about the woods that day. You ever walk into a place that just hates you? Like the air itself wants you gone. That's how those woods felt. The second I stepped out of my car, the birds stopped singing. No wind. No nothing. Just this heavy, sticky silence. Like the trees were holding their breath. Watching. I followed the overgrown path, my flashlight shaking in my hand. The smell hit me first. Sweet, like burnt caramel, but underneath it, rot. Meat left out in the sun. I gagged, covered my mouth, but it clung to my clothes. My hair, like the mill was already marking me. The closer I got, the colder it became. Summer heat vanished. My breath fogged in front of me, even though it was July. And then, I saw the doll. It was lying in the mud, right where the path split. One of those old porcelain dolls, the kind with glass eyes and lace dresses. Except its face was melted, twisted. One eye cracked, the other gouged out. And its dress, stained black, like it had been dipped in tar. I froze, because that doll, I'd drawn it 100 times. In my nightmares, it was always clutched in the arms of a little girl with no face. And here it was real. Too real. I picked it up. Big mistake. The porcelain was ice cold, and the second I touched it, I heard something. A giggle. High-pitched. Close. I spun around. Nothing but trees. Hello. I called out. Stupid. But the giggle came again, behind me now. Then to the left. Then everywhere. Kids laughing but off, like they were chewing the sound before spitting it out. I ran. Branches clawed at my arms. That rotten sweet smell got thicker, like I was breathing smoke. And then there it was. Harper's Mill. The place was a corpse. Walls slumped inward. Roof caved like a broken spine. But the door was wide open. Clean, almost. Like someone had polished it yesterday. I stepped inside. Flashlight beam bouncing off blackened walls. And that's when I heard it. Right behind me. Close enough to feel breath on my neck. A little girl's voice. Soft. Hungry. You came. I'd give anything to forget what happened next. The girl's voice, that thing pretending to be a girl, echoed in the mill, bouncing off walls that shouldn't have been standing. The door I'd walked through? Gone. Just gone. A solid wall of blackened wood in its place. And the windows, those broken, jagged holes I'd seen from outside, sealed shut, like the mill had healed itself. I stumbled backward, my boots crunching on glass that wasn't there a second ago. That's when I saw the walls. They were sweating. Thick, dark liquid oozing between the cracks. Not water, not blood, something worse. It smelled like gasoline and spoiled milk. I touched it. Stupid, I know. And my fingers came away sticky, hot, like the walls were alive. Feverish. The laughter started again. Kids laughing, but too loud. Too many voices. Overlapping. A nursery rhyme twisted into something sharp. Ring around the rosy, pockets full of posies. We all burned together. Ashes, ashes. I ran. Down hallways that didn't exist on the outside. Up stairs that creaked like they'd collapse any second. But every turn led me back to the same room. The same melted doll on the floor. The same girl's voice whispering, "Stay with us. We're so hungry." Then I saw them. All 6. Huddled in a corner. Their skin peeling off in ribbons. Eyes glowing like embers. They weren't crying anymore. They were smiling. Grins splitting their faces ear to ear. And their teeth black. Charred. One reached for me. A boy, maybe 8 years old. His arm stretched too far. Too long. Fingers curled like claws. I tried to scream, but the air turned thick. Hot. My lungs filled with smoke that wasn't there. His hand grabbed my wrist. Fire. Real fire. Not like a match or a campfire. This was inside me. In my bones. My veins. I could smell my own skin cooking. Hear it sizzle. I screamed, or tried to, but the sound that came out wasn't mine. It was deeper, older, a man's voice, screaming from somewhere in the walls. The children circled me, chanting now, "Burn with us, burn forever." Their faces flickering between kids and something else. Skinless, eyeless, hungry. I collapsed in front of a shattered mirror. My reflection stared back, but it wasn't me. My eyes were gone. Hollow sockets filled with flames. My mouth stretched wide, wider, tearing at the corners. And my skin melting, dripping off my skull like wax. The last thing I heard before everything went dark? The girl's voice, sweet as poison honey. "Now you're part of the story." They found my journal. Not me. The journal. Sitting right where the mill's entrance used to be. Pages soaked in rainwater and something else, something oily. Smelled like a campfire doused in gasoline. The police called it evidence. The townsfolk called it a hoax. But you're holding it right now, hearing my voice. So let me ask you, do I sound like a liar? Flip to the last page. Go on. See those words? The fire is inside me now. I wrote that. Or something wearing my skin did. Because here's the truth. I never left that mill. Not really. The kids made sure of that. They peeled me apart, stuffed their ashes into my veins. And when they were done, they let me crawl out just long enough to finish this story. To warn you, they're still there. In the woods. In the smoke. In the static between radio stations. And they're hungry. They'll call again. A wrong number at 3 a.m. A whisper in a crowded room. A child's face in your window just for a second before the curtains move. They'll ask for help. Beg for it. And if you're like me, if you've ever lost someone, ever stayed up wondering what if, you'll go. Don't. Listen to me. Don't. Because they don't want salvation. They want to trade. Your flesh for theirs. Your voice for theirs. And once you step into that mill, you become part of the story. Another page in the journal. Another shadow in the flames. I'm proof. Look at me. Really look. Can't you see it? The way my reflection flickers if I stand too close to a mirror. The way my hands shake, even when I'm not cold. I'm still burning. Always burning. And soon, pause. A shaky inhale. Soon, they'll need a new voice. A new story. So here's my last question for you. When your phone rings tonight, and that staticky whisper says, "Help us," what will you do? Will you hang up? Delete the voicemail? Or will you drive out to the woods, flashlight in hand, telling yourself it's just a dream, right up until the doors close behind you? Let me know, was I brave or stupid? And if you've ever heard voices from somewhere, share your story. Maybe we can piece this together. Stay curious. Stay scared.